100% paradigm shift, and I 100% agree, man. It was a 180 paradigm shift on this, and because when I came in the military, it was direct pressure and pressure points and elevation and all this bullshit, and tourniquet's a last resort, because when you put that tourniquet on, they're going to lose that limb. And I didn't ask because I had medical people teaching me this.
Right, yeah.
It was institutional inertia. You know where that bullshit came from? Civil War. Yeah, literally, because they used tourniquets on the battlefield. That's where we kind of started the mass casualty triage protocols, and they would put a tourniquet on to stop a life-threatening hemorrhage. But then it might be 18, 24 hours before they ever received care. And what was the cure then? Because it was all gangrenous.
Saw that shit off.
Yeah, chop it off, man. So that's where a lot of that bullshit came from, because they found tourniquets, battlefield tourniquets, from the ancient Greeks and ancient Romans.
All right, thanks for joining us today on the Big Tex Podcast. We've got our buddy Kerry Davis from Dark Angel Medical. He's drove down. He's actually conducting a class this weekend, and if you're listening to this on down the road, this weekend means August 20th and 21st, so don't hit me up trying to get into this class. But he's come down to Conroe, Texas, been on the road all day yesterday. He's going to be teaching a pretty good, actually a sold-out class,
yeah,
right?
Sold-out class, man. Pretty happy about that.
Super excited about be able to bring you in and get our employees, for one, and our local populace some of the best medical training that's out there. Today in the studio, we've got Ike and Ian joining us. Say hi to those listening.
Hello. Hi, listening people.
There we go. But we like to have fun on the Big Tex Podcast, and we like to get to know the person that we're talking to. Because, I mean, I've talked to you half a dozen times probably over the last few years.
Yeah.
Ike, Ian. We run into you every year at Symposium, if not before, when we're running around. So for those of our listeners that don't know you, let everybody know where you came from, how you got into this. I think you were in the military for a little bit. Mm-hmm. Let the audience know who Kerry Davis is.
I'm a sick individual. I've been in the medical field for 30 years. It'll do something to your mind a little bit, that's for sure. I was born and raised in Mississippi, born in Natchez, raised around a little town called Hattiesburg, and around Hattiesburg. And then after high school, went to college for a little bit, and then went into the military, went in Air Force as a medic, and started I was in pre-med in college, and I wanted to be a doctor. And I was like, I wanted to do medical stuff. And I wanted to do more because I was in the emergency room, and I said, I'll do a little bit more. So I volunteered for a special duty assignment up to what was then Pope Air Force Base. Now it's Pope Army Airfield at Fort Bragg, because basically we were just like a tenant base, inside Fort Bragg, doing all the air support for all the airborne guys and everything like that. And while I was up there, they trained us up to be more specially trained as far as medicine goes, trauma medicine, and we worked with a lot of the Army units. And so I got to go on to airborne school. I was like the fifth guy in my career field in Air Force to ever go through jump school, which was kind of cool.
Nice.
And had a good time doing that. Got deployed all over the world. We were gone like 200 days a year.
Oh, wow.
So, so if the 82nd went somewhere, there we went also. And so we deployed a lot, and then that ops tempo got a little bit rough, and I said, well, I think I'll do something else. So I'd always enjoyed teaching, and so I went and got assigned to officer training school at Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery, Alabama, and I was working down there as a paramedic, and decided, I think I'm going to separate from the active Air Force. And I separated from the active Air Force in 2001, right before everything kicked off, but I stayed in the reserves, so I still got to be involved. And then I was going through nursing school at the same time. So got my nursing degree and started working directly in critical care and emergency stuff, emergency department, emergency room, whatever you want to call it, and did that for years. And I was like, man, people need to know this stuff. And that was kind of the big impetus. This is is what was a catalyst to push me to do this stuff was I had a lot of buddies, working night shift in the ER. They're like, hey, what do you do for this or what do you do for that? I'm like, don't y'all get any kind of medical training? Since y'all are like typically the first one on scene, they're like going, well, this is our version of CPR, like with a foot and then, and they're like, we don't touch them. We don't know what to do. And so I said, well, how about if I could probably write up some curriculum? So I started working on that in 2006. And then I started working with Magpul because I'd moved to Colorado in the meantime.
Oh,
yeah. Excuse me. And Magpul was literally right down the road. And so I started working with them. And then I got picked up at SIG in 2011. So that was like 2008, 2009, I started working with Magpul. And in 2011, I started this company around the same time. And my big thing was not only having products, because there's a lot of medical kit companies out there. I said, but I want to be like the complete service provider. Not only do I sell you a good product, but I can also teach you how to use it and other products too. And I always say I empower people with knowledge. That's our goal, is to empower people with knowledge, because the worst thing in the world is sitting there watching somebody that's injured and not knowing what to do. That's horrible. Standing like my daddy used to say, like a mule stared at a fresh hung gate, and it is, people are like, oh man, it's a 16-hour course. I'm like, yeah, but regret's going to last for the rest of your life. And if you could do something to help somebody, then, honestly, why the heck wouldn't you?
Right.
I mean, this is simple. This is easy. And I think that's a lot of things people come to medical training thinking, oh man, this is going to be some sort of freaking rocket surgery or something. And it's not.
No,
You've been through my class, man.
Yeah, it's super simple. It's stuff you can apply, like take the class and immediately go apply it.
Yeah.
And if you needed to.
And people have. I was down in Scottsdale a few years back at the Scottsdale Gun Club, and this guy, he texted me after class, and he's like, dude, I was literally 30 minutes outside of Scottsdale, and there was a wreck that happened. The car rolled over on its roof.
Shit.
And he was like, I literally did the whole assessment that we had just done in class. So he said, so at least it was fresh.
Yeah, right.
At least it was fresh. But it's just, I can't overemphasize for people to learn this kind of stuff, man. I don't care who you are, whatever background you got, Joe construction worker, Susie soccer mom, whatever the hell it is you do, it's relevant. I mean, this is not just something for a square range. This is not something that only tactical people do or anything like that. That's one of the things that kind of hacks me off, is people think, it's just for tactical. This is a tactical medicine. No, it's not. This is we call it everyday trauma care.
Yeah.
Because it's home is like the most dangerous place in the world. And how much time do we spend at home?
A lot.
And dude, hell, driving down here, holy sweet baby Jesus, man. It was, I was like, everybody wants to be Ricky Bobby around here, I want to go fast.
That was the biggest culture shock, I think, when I moved here, was like the driving. 45, it's like Mad Max. There's no rules and you just drive. It's
like super aggressive, and people driving like dingleberries, there's going to be a traffic accident. You're going to see it. And I think it's so freaking relevant, because how long is it going to take EMS to get there? So that's kind of what drove me to do this, and I love doing this. I think there's something that was, pursue your passion. As I was listening to a podcast the other day, and this guy's like, if you pursue your passion, then it's easy, because there's a lot of people out there that literally hate what they do, and I feel sorry for them. I really do, because I've been able to parlay this into something that helps me make a living, and it helps me keep people living. Because there's nothing better than making a living, keeping people living. That's pretty rad.
Yeah.
And I'm a freaking nerd anyway, so I love seeing the light bulb, pop off when people are in class. So it kind of jazzes me up a little bit.
Yeah.
No, that they say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. It's like kind of working at Big Tex.
No,
right? Like, I love what I do. My wife's like, "Are you going in today?" Hell yeah, I'm going in today. Kids are back in school. I'm going to work later.
I get to hang out with people I enjoy hanging out with, and I provide a good service and have a good time doing it. So yeah, y'all are lucky too, and it's it is. I mean, there is work involved. I mean, like, driving down 14 hours. Whoa, that's work, man. I don't care who you are, but you got to look at the end game. You got to look at the payoff is people are getting knowledge, man. That previously wouldn't have had the knowledge. I mean, like you signed up a bunch of folks from the shoppy, and it's like, because you're like, man, we're firearms testing. We're on the range with people. What if somebody's in the shop? Somebody ends up.
Yeah, I mean, even at the warehouse. I mean,
we've had small injuries, nothing major.
Yeah. I mean,
you never know.
It's an occupational hazard, and the more those of us in the firearms industry, when we're around them, it's gonna happen. It's not a matter of if; it's just a matter of when. It's something that I think people need to be very cognizant of. People at home, they slip and fall and put their hand through a plate glass window or something like that, rips their radial artery open. I've seen it. One of my football coaches in high school damn near bled out like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was trying to get in. He was knocking on the door, and his hand went through the freaking plate pane glass, and he pulled it back real quick, ripped his freaking artery. He damn near bled out right there on his front porch.
NAR, I think, shared a photo on their Instagram the other night of a dude who had sliced his wrist when he was washing dishes.
Yeah.
And the blood trail, I mean, like,
absolutely.
there was just blood everywhere, and that's just washing dishes, at home.
And people don't think, well, I'm home. This is my safe haven.
This is your bubble.
Yeah. I mean, does anybody have stairs in your house? If so, you miss that last stair. It's a Lulu, man.
With kids and dogs.
Yeah.
There's a coffee stain on the wall of our townhouse from where I literally flew sideways with a cup of coffee because I stepped on a toy, and I was like, oh, this is not good.
Yeah. I had to do some sheetrock repair at my old house up near Boulder when I lived up there because I tripped coming down the stairs and put my forehead into the sheetrock, and there was like a big head-shaped divot in the sheetrock,
Good thing there wasn't a stud there.
Thank God, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it'd have been a lot worse, but home is dangerous. And if you have cats are always trying to kill you.
Yeah.
So,
that's
I mean,
for sure.
that's a fact.
Or kids,
Or kids,
Legos.
Skateboards.
Or like my dog, he'll sit right behind you if you're up doing whatever. My wife was at the sink the other day, and she was putting up a picture, and she had the stepladder there, and she didn't look down, and Ranger, 110-pound German Shepherd, comes and plops himself at the base of the ladder, and or the step stool, and she's coming down, she's like going backwards, and I was like, it happens, man.
Oh, yeah.
Freak accidents happen all the time.
Of all the, I mean, there's all the stats for like gun use and, that type of stuff that shows that it's not as rare as we think it is. But there's very rarely you go through, a couple weeks where you don't drive by a wreck.
Absolutely.
That somebody might need help. Or, like you said, at-home injury. So first aid is definitely up there should be top of the tier, whether you're carrying or you're not.
I say that. I say that all the time. Even if you don't carry, you need medical training, because they did a study, the Hartford Consensus, I think it was when they were doing the Stop the Bleed campaign stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And they estimated that like 33,000 Americans a year die from hemorrhage that could have been treated. Now there's like another 30,000 more that, you can't treat if it's in this box. You can't tourniquet that off.
Yeah.
But
what are some things you can't tourniquet?
The taint. You cannot tourniquet, but you can pack it. You can't tourniquet the taint, but you can pack it. Yeah, I knew exactly where you're going with that. The gooch, the grundle, the taint, whatever you want to call it, the nether regions. But yeah, it's the thing, man, is that people don't realize. They're like, when you give them those numbers, you're like, this is not a number I'm just pulling out of my butt, man. This is like a real deal number. They did studies on this. People way more educated than me. I'm like, that's scary. 33,000 people a year. We don't have that many firearms deaths, and if you look at the majority of firearms deaths, they're suicides. So I mean, looking at the numbers, I was like, it's way more dangerous. Just everyday life.
Yeah.
Everyday life is way more dangerous.
Do you know how effective the Stop the Bleed campaign has been since they've started that? How many people went through?
Man, I wish I had looked at that before we came on the podcast. I don't know how effective theirs has been. I know since we've been doing this, I've gotten reports of over 155 people just from our program. But I can't imagine, Stop the Bleed's a big force multiplier all over the United States. Even if there's 200,000 people and there's a 10% save rate, that's a lot of folks.
So you're seeing AEDs and like Stop the Bleed kits all over the place now.
Yeah.
That's that was their goal, was, just like the hands-only CPR, is to create a layperson bleeding control program, and that's where the Stop the Bleed stuff came out. Yeah. So that's why I do like seeing AEDs and bleeding control kits there. So it's super important. I don't know the numbers, but I'll look that up.
I should have asked you that prior to
That's okay, dude. That's okay.
prior to the podcast.
Yeah. But you have 150 people.
Over 150 people, walking around with another birthday.
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
That's got to be a good feeling,
dude.
Like, know that you directly contributed to that.
It really is. It's like a redneck from Route 2 Seminary, Mississippi. And I came up with this idea. I was like, I want to do this to make people's lives better, and to know. And we had a dude that didn't even come to one of our classes. Because he couldn't. Just because of his work and everything like that. And so he watched some of the online training videos I have on our website, the free videos, and he bought a kit, and he and his buddy and his girlfriend were out in California up in the mountains four-wheeling or off-roading, and the truck rolled, and it crushed his buddy's arm, and he had a open fracture, arteries spraying blood everywhere, and he grabbed the kit, tourniqueted the guy off. It was like 4 hours before EMS got there, and they're like, bro, he'd have been dead.
Yeah.
So just even that remote learning like that is huge. The in-person, I love doing in-person because you get more interpersonal experience, obviously, but there's a way to do it, and it's, knowing that somebody has another birthday. The very first one we got, I'll never forget this one. You always remember your first one, right? And it was December of 2012. And this Marine wrote in, and he said, my mom got me one of your kits before I deployed to Afghanistan. I thought it was kind of a lame or funny, odd going away gift until I used it last week to save my best friend's life. How freaking cool is that?
That's legit.
Yeah.
I was like, I still get a little verklempt, talking about that, because I read that and I just started freaking bawling, and I was like, man, if I don't sell another freaking kit the rest of my life.
Yeah, worth it.
Worth it.
Yeah.
One person right there is walking around another birthday because of that. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what keeps me going, man. That's what keeps me going, because I love what I do.
So the classes came before the kit, correct?
The curriculum did. Yeah, the curriculum did. But I started selling the products, and then we launched our training about 6 months later. Because our goal was to not only have the product, but then the kits. I'd already had the curriculum and had the idea for the kits. And then it took me a long time to get all I almost did get insurance, because of, oh my God, it's first aid kit.
Yeah.
What sorcery is this? And, and it was, and so that finally came to market. But our goal was to do the training along with the product. So, yeah, but I started writing the curriculum in 2006. And we constantly update it all the time, just because everything changes. Medical, just like, firearms industry,
how many times have they changed the CPR guidelines in the last 10 years?
100%, man.
Back and forth and back.
Look at military TTPs over the last, 20 years. Because when we went into GWAT,
oh, yeah.
They were like, well, we've done it this way forever, well, we better make some adjustments, So that's kind of a big deal.
If the only thing good that came out of that 20 years, it's the advancement in tactical medical.
100% paradigm shift, and I 100% agree, man. It was a 180 paradigm shift on this, and because when I came in the military, it was direct pressure and pressure points and elevation and all this bullshit, and tourniquet's a last resort, because when you put that tourniquet on, they're going to lose that limb. And I didn't ask, because I had medical people teaching me this.
Right, yeah.
It was institutional inertia. You know where that bullshit came from? Civil War.
Yeah,
literally, because they used tourniquets on the battlefield. That's where we kind of started the mass casualty triage protocols, and they would put a tourniquet on to stop a life-threatening hemorrhage. But then it might be 18, 24 hours before they ever receive care. And what was the cure then? Because it was all gangrenous.
Saw that shit off.
Yeah, chop it off, man. So that's where a lot of that bullshit came from, because they found tourniquets, battlefield tourniquets, from the ancient Greeks and ancient Romans. Back in, thousands of years ago. And then we've been using tourniquets in operating rooms, since like the 1800s. That is documented. And so if anybody's had knee replacement surgery, had a tourniquet. If you've had any kind of extremity surgery.
Never watch one of those surgeries on YouTube.
Holy Jesus, dude.
My dad got double knee replacement last couple of years. And I was like, I'm going to see what, that was aggressive.
Bro, it's barbaric.
Yeah.
I mean, when you see an orthopedic surgeon, it looks like a freaking Nebraska linebacker with muck boots on, wheeling in a sterilized Craftsman toolbox.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm pretty sure shit just got real.
My knee's starting to hurt already.
Dude, dude, if you ever need, don't.
I'm good.
It's fucked.
I mean,
it's bad.
Bone chips. And they break out the big power drills.
Oh, shit.
Dude, I mean, like my buddy's wife broke her femur on a base jump that went bad out in Colorado, and they had to put a big nail in her femur, and it's like a big freaking metal rod, and they have to just get a big it's like a big masonry bit.
Bing.
It's like a big long
drill down.
And then they just hammered that freaking nail in the inner portion of the femur.
Full medieval with it.
Dude, it is. It's barbaric. But yeah, that's the reason I'm like, yeah, we don't have any of that in our kids.
No,
none of that in our kids.
There's been a drastic change though in I came through basic training in 2000, and 2000 it was still tourniquet last resort. 2003 first deployment. All of a sudden, halfway through there, they're like, "Here, stick this in your pocket. It's a tourniquet." Well, let's put them on.
Yeah.
And that was a whole shift there. 2003, 2004, that started coming in. Then TCCC.
Yeah. I think TCCC started around 2004-ish.
Yep.
And, that was as a result of all the crap that went down in Somalia, Black Hawk Down. That was kind of like, that started that. They're like, we got to do better, and, but that institutional inertia, how long did it take to stop? Because we've been teaching it for years, and all of a sudden, because they even were still teaching the tourniquet last thing in combat lifesaver for a few years even after that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even in the civilian world, I spent a little over a decade in the fire service, and when I first got in, it was like you said, tourniquets were a no-go.
Right.
It was like, oh, okay, and then you join the military, and as the GWAP progressed, all that stuff changed.
There was better data. There was more data. There were actual real studies from trauma medicine guys. And so Department of Transportation manages all the curriculum for National Registry of EMTs, paramedics, things like that. So it was DOT mandated curriculum. Do you know when they finally started putting tourniquets in the curriculum?
I would guess.
Take a guess.
I don't think I want to know.
I would probably think 2009 or 2010.
2012.
Okay.
And we had been using tourniquets since 2002.
Yeah.
Because if you read Robert's Ridge, one of the Ranger medics put a tourniquet on the helicopter pilot that got shot through the arm, and incidentally, that dude had one of the longest tourniquet times on record. They did a case study on him. It was like a 16-hour tourniquet time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he still kept his originally issued arm. Like a year later, he was back on flying status.
Wow.
But they said, it took 10 years for us to get it in the curriculum.
Yeah.
And now I think they're just now in the last couple of years. I had a guy in my class in Grand Junction last weekend. He's a wilderness first responder. He said they just started talking about it in the last year or two there, because they were still teaching. Oh no, tourniquets are bad. I'm like, bro.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You still get every once in a while. You'll see on social media or forums or Instagram or whatever. Somebody will be like, "Oh no, you can't tourniquet up." Dude, you're 15 years behind the power curve now.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's if you don't have the knowledge and you don't have the trauma kit, and I hate to say it, I hate to sound negative, but you're the one at fault. because you got to catch up. To me, it's a social responsibility. It's to be. Do I want to be a social asset or a social liability? I want to be able to take care of people, and if you don't, you need to know this stuff. Even if it's a basic stop the bleed class, man, like a 4-hour. People are like, well, I don't have 16 hours. Cool, fine, I get it. Life happens, but dude. You can do a 4-hour stop the bleed class and literally be a force multiplier in this because everything changes.
Yeah, going from 0 to stop the bleed is huge.
That's huge. Just like going from 0 to CPR AED training. I mean, honestly, I think that's like the trifecta of to get started is CPR, AED, and stop the bleed, because early intervention in any of those cases leads to increased survivability rates. Because you think about it, you got 120 seconds of free bleeding from a bigger vessel before you got 1 foot in the grave and 1 on a nanner peel, man. I mean, you're like deep in the hurt locker. You're deep in the freaking hurt locker.
I'm going to have to go back through and write all these down.
Yeah. Just come to class. You'll hear plenty more of those.
There's at least 50.
Lives in Colorado, still has the Mississippi.
Deep.
Back.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, that comes from my sweet wife Angela, because she and I grew up.
That's right. Y'all were college sweet or high school,
like even elementary school.
Yeah.
Fell in love with her when I was in 3rd grade. Man, we grew up 2.2 miles. I measured it 2.2 miles down the road from each other in Mississippi. Nice. Not related. I always say that too. I got to throw that disclaimer in there.
Have you done a DNA test?
Yeah, but it only took me like 30 years to get the guts up to ask her out. But we got married almost 4 years ago, and she had traveled all over the world, but she never lived outside of Mississippi. So my accent is definitely a lot stronger living with her.
Oh yeah.
And even my daughter Lily Beth, who stays with us a lot of the time, she's like, she said, people at school are telling me I have a Southern accent in some of the words I say. I'm like, well, how much time do you spend here? Because her mom's from Colorado, so it's got a very neutral accent. And Lily was born in Colorado, so it's funny. People are like, what did you just say? Like,
that was actually one of my questions.
Yeah.
For you. What grade is your daughter in?
She's a junior.
So does she carry medical stuff in her backpack?
Since she was 8 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
that's pretty cool.
That's a great question. And she's been through the class 5 times. I think she was in a class
with me
when y'all went in Katy, wasn't it? That was at Boyer, wasn't it?
I think it was at Boyer. Yeah. Vezerac put on.
Yeah. And then, the first 3 times she took it, she was voluntold. The last couple of times she took it, she volunteered herself. She's like, I want to do this because I need a refresher and I don't know how to do that. And she's been learning. She knew how to put tourniquets on when she was little. Because I was like, I would throw a tourniquet at her sister, and go, okay, left leg, go. Or I'd fall down and go, right leg, whatever. And of course, I get the requisite eye roll, and, but I am bleeding out over here. And it's something I think it should be a graduation requirement to have like a stop the bleed class at a very basic minimum.
It'd be useful.
It'd be fantastic.
I mean,
yeah.
It'd be one of those things that would definitely help you coming out of high school.
Yeah. I mean, Lily.
Give it like 15, 20 years, then you've got this whole generation of, people that at least at some point in their life had some sort of basic trauma.
Yeah, because look at our current world situation. And even like Lily Beth didn't even know how to balance a checkbook. I showed her. I've got a check register. This is like I think medical training is a life skill.
Oh, absolutely.
Just like learning how to check your oil or put air in your tires or whatever. 100%. Change a tire, change a flat. It's a critical life skill. So, but I don't know. That's just me.
I feel pretty good that my girls have Band-Aids. They've got their little Band-Aid kit, but that's kind of like one of those, like anytime they get injured, they want a Band-Aid,
yes.
Right? So let's make it a please
missing a leg. Please put a Band-Aid on.
With Band-Aids all over them.
Always. But we'll have to get them into.
Yeah, we have to lock the Band-Aids up because Emerson will get in there and just put them everywhere. We'll have them all up his leg.
He was walking around with probably a week ago at the shop, and he had stickers literally from his waist to his nipple line. Just probably had 10 or 12 stickers. And I was like a kid.
I remember when I moved from the other house up in Boulder, and I was sitting there with a freaking razor knife, scraping freaking stickers off of everything. I was like, dear God, keep the stickers away from them.
Yeah, we had to get him a little notebook that's a sticker book. So he puts the stickers on the pages in the notebook. That's where you can put them, not on the bikes and the walls and the dishwasher and everything else.
But
His brother.
But yeah, with kids with the stickers and everything, it's so easy. It's so relatable to them because that's fun, and I made the medical stuff fun for the girls.
Yeah.
And it's all fun and turn it into a game, but they don't even realize they're freaking learning anything. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they know how to put a tourniquet on it 8 years old.
Yeah,
But I mean, what if it's my dumb ass on the roof, and I fall off and impale myself on something or get sliced up at the house and the kid comes out?
Dude, I mean, I used to ride my bike everywhere. And, like, God forbid I would have gotten hurt or one of my buddies would have gotten hurt. I mean, cell phones had just started to come around.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, we rode miles on our bike. And to have, like, be that age and have a skill like that is awesome.
It's just by the grace of God. I know I made my guardian angels work overtime when I was a kid because I lived out in the country. We grew up on a lot of acreage, and we would be gone till past sundown.
Oh yeah.
Till you hear your mama screaming for you. Come on in, and out there doing all sorts of stupid shit. And it's a wonder that we didn't need any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I think kids need this. One of my classmates got saved by my father-in-law. I didn't even know this because he was asking what I did whenever Angie and I started dating. And he said, she tells me you're doing some medical stuff. And he's like, yeah, I saved that Lockhart boy's life with an improvised tourniquet with a belt and a tire tool because he had run up on the back of my another classmate of ours' four-wheeler. He wasn't paying attention, ran up on the back, flipped over, and the foot peg caught him right behind the knee. And ripped that big artery up, the popliteal artery back behind his knee open. And my father-in-law, it was literally divine intervention, came around the corner. It's between my house and their house, and saw it right as it happened and saw the big spray of blood. Yeah. And he's like, that's what we learned how to do in Vietnam, or during the Vietnam War. He said, I went over there and cranked it on there. But I had a former student of mine. His dad was... I'm not going to give names or locale, whatever, but his dad got injured, and this guy's in his early 20s and didn't realize his dad was injured, went outside, and his dad's passed out from blood loss in the backyard. Yeah, and had the stuff there, had taken the class, and literally saved his dad's life. I mean, so home injuries, or just teaching your kids how to do this. It's just I don't know.
We were out 3 weekends ago. At Dearly's house helping one of my buddies out, and he's like, we're loading up chainsaws in the ATV, we're fixing to go out, and I grabbed my Dark Angel medical kit. Right?
Available at darkangelmedical.com.
Right? I got us all kits, and so
he's been very proactive about that.
I threw that in the ATV, and you could just see the lights go on in my buddy's eyes, like,
oh, that's a good idea.
Oh, he's prior service. He was a Marine, but there wasn't any sort of medical. And we were fixing to go out, 400 or 500 yards from the house.
With chainsaws?
Yeah, like you'd bleed out before you ever got up there.
100%. And that's just, people don't think about it. It's almost like medical's an afterthought.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Because how
you don't think about it until you need it.
Until you need it. We're a very reactive society to begin with. How we're not very proactive, and it's like, shit, I could probably use a med kit right about now. By that time, it's too late. It's like being in a defensive encounter and going, man, I should have brought my pistol with me. You're never gonna miss it unless you need it and you don't have it. Thank you.
We were talking about the stuff that Chris seen on North American Rescue. I'm sure you saw it. That dude, it was in where was it, Mexico? They got stabbed in the neck.
Oh, dude. How quick was he gone?
Dead.
Yeah.
Dead.
Yeah. Was that the one that was a street fight, or was that the one in Brazil that was the robber?
No, it was a street fight.
Okay, there was a robber. Did you see the robber? They got shot in the neck.
Oh yeah.
And he bled out in the turnstile door.
Turnstile door.
Dude, yeah.
Blood everywhere.
Everywhere. It was like a bath. And then the dude that got stabbed in the neck, little 3-inch blade, man.
People don't realize that though.
No.
You could take a box cutter and do the same thing.
Yeah.
You're fucked.
He was literally a dead man walking.
Yeah.
When I watched that video, it's disturbing.
Oh, yeah. You could have been on an operating table and not survived that.
Yeah.
That's...
You had to have a surgeon working super fast.
Yeah.
It's terrifying when I show videos and stuff like that of people in class. Like, well, that was kind of graphic. I'm like, yeah, life's graphic, bro.
Yeah.
just
welcome to Earth.
Newsflash.
Yeah.
You know, we don't all live in a freaking bubble. And I'd rather you see it in my class.
Oh yeah.
And know, hey, I know I might vapor lock a little bit, but you won't completely freeze, won't completely lock up if you do see it in real life.
Yeah. Just like, William April's class, the stuff that he would show in class or talk about, you need a compartment for that.
Yeah, you need a spot in your Rolodex.
You need to already know, hey, this can happen.
100%.
Because how many times on YouTube you see something happen and you're just like, why is that lady just standing there watching this baby get stomped?
Yeah.
Well, that's just not something that you can process.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't process that's actually happening. It's like it's so absurd and so like outside of anything you might expect that you just don't even realize that it's happening.
It was. We took that parent and guardian class, and he kind of talked about some of that stuff, and that was.
Yeah. With John Johnson.
Yeah. I think brought that up, and it's like one of those things where, that's happening in front of me, and it just doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't because it doesn't because you hadn't ever thought about it, and two, when it does happen like that, it's surreal.
Yeah.
It's like there's no way this could be happening.
There's no way your eyes see it, but your brain is refusing to let you believe that it's happening or accept that this is reality. Like this is not real. And it's one of those things I tell people, like, well, how do you take care of somebody? I've been doing it for 30 years, almost 31 now. And I'm like, and I don't say this to sound crude or callous or jaded or anything, because I'm not. I'm very sympathetic to people, empathetic to people who've been injured. But I'm like, I have to treat the injury. I'm not treating the person. I'm treating the injury that's going to kill the person. So I kind of have to, I tell them, I said, you have to almost disassociate yourself from it in that instance. You're still going to get traumatized by it. No matter what, you're still going to get traumatized by it, and go talk to somebody. That's another big piece of advice I tell people. If you've never dealt with an injury like that, go talk to somebody, because it's going to screw you up. But you got to disassociate yourself from it to be able to focus better on that. And that way you're not vapor locking, you're not freaking out. So,
you've probably I've seen it in the fire service. Like you get there and somebody's just standing there, in the ER or whatever. And you're just, like,
hello.
Like, come on, like, we're here to help, please.
Ground control to Major Tom. Dating myself with that one. And it's like, I remember one of the car accidents I pulled up on when I was a paramedic, I got out of the ambulance and slipped in brains, and I'm sitting there going, well, can't do anything about that one, and the other dude just standing there, looking at what was the person he was riding with, what they were there, and now they're not. He was just kind of vapor locked, and he's sitting there just bleeding from this big scalp laceration. His scalp was completely avulsed. You could see his skull, and he's standing there not even paying attention to this. He's
looking at the brains you just slipped on.
Because he's just vapor locked because I slipped in his friend's brains. And I'm like, well, I got to take care of him because I can't do anything about them. So, and that's another thing I think these classes teach people is you can do a certain amount. There's a certain amount you can't do. And I think if you get that gives people closure, so to speak, because they're like, well, I did everything I can for them. Because what's one of the big things we always do? How many of y'all second guess yourselves?
Oh yeah.
Big critic, we're all self-critiquing, especially if you're a type A, type person like that, you self-critique. And I think people, they're like, well, I couldn't do anything for them. And I think that's better than not knowing. Well, what could I have done? Could I have done anything for them? If you take a class, you're like, oh, yeah, I couldn't have done anything. It sucks, but I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do anything for them anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep.
All right. Good times.
Yeah. Good time. When we were sitting here thinking about that, I had a instance. I told you about the lady at HEB.
Yeah.
I do the grocery shopping. I do the cooking. I was at HEB one day, and I typically go on Sunday afternoon, so it's the church crowd, and I'd went later on in the evening for some reason. And I'm sitting there bagging up my broccoli, and I turn, and I just see this old lady just go,
boom,
hit the ground. She cut her head on the way down, and she's sitting there. And an elderly gentleman, he might not have even been able to get down and help his wife.
Right, physically limited.
But she's laying there holding her head, and it's spurting, and he's not. He's just kind of standing there. And one other person helped me. She grabbed some paper towels, and I grabbed a plastic bag. I didn't have my kit on me. My stuff's usually in the truck.
Right.
But paper towels, plastic bag, and just
but you acted.
Held it there.
You acted because you didn't have the kit, but you had the knowledge.
Right.
And that's what I tell people. Even if you don't have the kit, the best kit is the one you got on you. The best kit's the one you got on you. But even if you don't have that kit or something happens, you've exhausted those supplies. If you have a class, then you know the rationale behind how to use that stuff and what to do. Same.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't exactly tourniquet her neck, but
I mean, you can. You can.
But
I mean,
it definitely would have stopped the bleeding.
It'll definitely stop the bleeding.
But the pressure, it worked. Hey, I just sit there, and then I was like, man, you know what? 6 minutes of sitting here holding that pressure on this lady's head before the fire department showed up, I was wore out. Already just sitting there, kneeling, holding this lady's head.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. I mean, it's like I had a similar incident happen to me years ago in Atlanta. I was coming back home from a class. I was flying back home. It was like a Sunday evening. I still have my uniform, whatever, on, and this guy passes. I was in a serpentine for security, and this guy just boom passes out, locks up, passes out, and we're in a serpentine. Instead of somebody catching him, everybody's like, "Oh shit!" Got out of the way, and the dude's head sounded like a freaking cantaloupe hitting the floor, and it's like triple tapped, and all of a sudden I see this pool of blood, and I was like, "Oh crap!" And so I dropped my stuff and had a little mini kit, darkangelmedical.com, in my pocket, and ran up to the dude, started putting my gloves on, and I was there with a dude for 25 minutes before EMS showed up. And Hartsville's got like 5 EMS stations on the perimeter road. It's like a 20-mile perimeter, but every one of them were actively involved in other calls. So I was reassessing, and that's what I tell people. I'm like, look, man, that brings me to a good point. You're your own first responder. You're 911. I've got a T-shirt that says "Expect a self-rescue." And I mean,
oh yeah, it's true.
Dude, that's 100% true. I mean, if there was a shooting happening and right in front of you, and you got your concealed carry piece, how far away are cops? If a traumatic accident happens in front of you, and you have your med kit, how far away is the ambulance?
Oh yeah.
Look at average response times. Or if 911 is overwhelmed, or in case of social unrest, what if it doesn't even exist? I live out in a county. I live out in El Paso County in Colorado, and county roads aren't that great in the wintertime. So response times can be extremely delayed. What about the flooding down here?
I live in a brand new neighborhood, and I don't even have cell phone service.
Right. That's terrifying.
Yeah,
it's terrifying. I mean,
very.
And what happened with all the flooding down here years ago?
Yeah. Or ice.
When the ice Mageddon happened.
We were done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Nothing was happening.
And that's just it. I mean, you think about it. But I guarantee you accidents were still happening.
Oh, yeah.
So what are people going to do? You better know.
Dude, hella people died when the snow happened because they were running their cars in their garages or their generators in their garages.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, just like Katrina, when Katrina happened, because my brothers still live on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, and people were getting looted, so they were putting their generators in their garages.
Yeah.
So people wouldn't steal the generators, but hey, surprise, carbon monoxide, you're welcome. And it's one of these things that I'm like, if EMS is not around, you better be your own EMS. You better be your own first responder. So that's the reason I think this training is so timely and so relevant. Just look at what's going on around us nowadays.
Oh yeah. Help could be inside the hallway and standing there for 55 minutes.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Yeah. Imagine that. And that's the reason I think schools, teachers. I just went and taught a private school down in Colorado Springs. Taught their guardian staff like a 1-day basic trauma class. And I said, they said, this is fantastic. I said, no, it's fantastic. What's fantastic is y'all being proactive and doing this.
That's very true.
That's what's fantastic. I had the service out there. It's just people need to come take it. And I'm like, because you're going to be a force multiplier for these 500 students, these 600 students you have in your class.
Will you teach big groups like that? Like if a school wanted to hire you as a
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome.
I mean, because I have a pared down 1-day curriculum, which is I call it basic trauma management, that I can teach these folks, because a 2-day class is hard for administrators to get their teachers to, their educators to. So school resource officers, teachers, whomever come to class. I even had some of the school nurses, and they're like, "Yeah, I never had this crap in nursing school." I'm like, "No, of course you don't." Nobody teaches you to put tourniquets on. I can give a bed bath like a champ.
Can wipe an ass like a pro.
Hey man, I'm a bedpan commando, but I never was taught to put a tourniquet on in nursing school. And that's what I tell people. I'm like, look, just because they're a nurse or somebody comes up on the scene, I'm a doctor. Well, what kind of doctor?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a urologist. Well, you can do a hell of a prostate check, but do you know anything about a tourniquet? And 9 times out of 10, they're like, I have no clue. I've had cardiothoracic surgeons come in my class, ER docs come in my class, and they're like, hey, I learned stuff from this, because they didn't know, because they weren't trained on that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I think it's relevant, man. That's what I like about it. Sorry, I'm droning, but yeah.
Oh, no, you're
No.
No, that's exactly what we're here to talk about, and show our listeners or our viewers, whatever you want to call it, how important this type of training is compared to it's not the sexy cool guy stuff where we're
burn it down,
burning it down.
Yeah, exactly.
$2,000 pistols and optics. BigTexOrdnance.com.
Yeah, but no, nice shameless plug. But you're exactly 100% correct, man. Because it's not cool, it's not sexy. But bleeding out ain't cool. Bleeding out ain't sexy either. And that's what I tell people. I even have a sticker. Bleeding out ain't sexy. And
we have a sticker guy. We can make that happen. We have a sticker guy.
I've got some old ones. I'll send you the file if you want me to. Or we can even make a new sticker.
We can make it happen.
Bleeding out ain't sexy.
About it.
Yeah, bleeding out ain't sexy. And that's what I tell people all the time. And they're like, oh, man, your kit's expensive. I'm like, yeah, what's even more expensive? A funeral.
Fact.
And people are like, damn, man, that's kind of harsh. I'm like, no, it's a harsh reality. And I was teaching a class up at SIG Academy, because I'm a part-time instructor there for like the last 11 years. And this guy was on the long range course, and he's like, what kind of kit is that? It's a Stark Angel medical kit. He said, he said, where'd you get it? I said, my company. He said, SIG? I said, no, I own the company. He's like, oh, and he's like, how much is that? I said, after a coupon code, it's like $175, $180. And he's like, man, that's expensive. And I looked down at him. He was proned out on the deck.
Shooting magic ammo.
With a freaking Schmidt and Bender.
Yeah.
A custom .338 Lapua Magnum. And I looked at him. I was like, and I said it without even, my filter just left. I was like, you got to be shitting me. And he's like, well, what? I said, dude, you got $5,000 worth of glass, $4,000 worth of rifle. And each round, instead of the bolt,
$3,
instead of the bolt ringing, it's like cha-ching, cha-ching every time you shoot. I said, you're shooting paper and steel at 800 to 1,000 yards. I said, you're way more liable to use this than that, And I was like, oh, and he had a can on it. He had a Silencer Co. big bore harvester on it too. So there's the can too. And I was like, but it's priorities, man. And it's like, I love to go shoot. I love to go to a shooting class. I love to get out there and burn it down, and it's important, it's a good skill to have. It's another be your own 911 type person thing. But I think, like you said, you hit the nail on the head, man, that medical is very underemphasized because it's not cool. It's not sexy. But it takes 2 days out of your life. This class takes 2 days out of your life, and you'll be so empowered and so confident. I think that's one of the big things I like. I ask people, "Hey, do you feel more confident after the class? Did you feel more confident?"
Oh, 100%.
And it's just people come in like this, and there's some trepidation there. Big word for redneck, right? But there's some trepidation there, and then after the class, their confidence levels through the freaking roof, and they're like, "Man, I should have had this years ago." And I'm like, "Yeah. You probably should have, man." And it's if I can get people, if I can change their mindset, and that's what I try to do. I try to have get people to have a perceptual change. So if they come to the class and I'm like, if I don't make you more paranoid by the time you got here, then if you don't leave more paranoid there when you got here, then I hadn't done my job, because it makes people literally have a perceptual change. Like if you go to like if you go to a shooting class or whatever, you go to a mindset class, how many of y'all sit with your backs to the wall when you go into a restaurant? Or, so you can see the door.
Yeah.
Or to see a secondary exit, That's just being proactive, being prepared. So, yeah. I don't know. I ain't nothing. My daughter calls me the tactical Oompa Loompa, but it's and I'm okay with that. But it's just a matter of being prepared and confident and having the mindset, and having the kit is great. Having the training is great, but you got to have the mindset in order to be that difference. You got to be able to use it. It's just like there's so many parallels between firearms and medicine, as if you don't have, if you're carrying a gun and you don't have the right mindset to use it, and you've had some training, you're still a liability, And if you use one of our kits too, I'm gonna throw a little shameless plug out there. If you use one of our kits, we got a thing called a Kit for Life Guarantee, and we will replace whatever it is you use if you save somebody's life. Just send us some documentation and send us.
If you don't save their life, but you
we'll give it to you at a steeply discounted price.
DarkAngelMedical.com.
Yeah, exactly. But and I'm very happy to say, hey man, I've replaced over 155 kits or components thereof, and that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, that's pretty freaking cool.
So you buy once, you cry once, but we stand behind it, and that's the big thing. And you get a gold coin. It's not like a real gold coin. It's like a gold tone.
Gold colored.
It's gold, baby.
Yeah.
And you do have, we'll talk products for a second here so people know that are listening. You've got the standard Dark Angel medical kit, right? Mm-hmm. You make a vehicle one?
Yeah,
specific?
we make a couple of vehicles. We make a headrest mounted kit. We make a visor mounted kit. Make an ankle kit. We make one called an EDC. That's belt mounted or molly mounted. We make the mini, which slips into a pocket, and you can throw a tourniquet in there too, like a soft tee or something, because it's real flat. That's what my wife carries in her purse is the mini with a soft tee rubber banded to it. My daughter too, Lilybeth too. We make a hard case. It's from Royal Case Company out of Dallas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we like those red ones.
The red ones, yeah.
Yeah, we have 2 or 3 up here. We've got 2 at the range. We got one at our house. In the vehicles, we freaking love those.
Yeah, we have the one that we take to class all the time.
Yeah, because it's red, it's highly visible. It's rugged, it's waterproof, floats, all that kind of stuff. We got the St. Mike bag, big mass casualty bag.
We had it. We even had it at the SWAT conference, sitting on the table.
Oh yeah.
Everywhere we go, we take it.
That's awesome.
Every event, every training event that we go to and stuff, we got that.
Throw it on the table. There it is.
Yeah. And that's the thing. People are like, you got a lot of kits. I'm like, well, there's a lot of different things people do. It's like I say, whatever your mission is, we got a kit to fit it.
And the ouch pouch. We like the ouch pouch too.
The ouch pouch, yeah. Oh, and those are finally coming back into stock soon. Thankfully.
We keep those in all the vehicles, and we use them. Like, you need a Band-Aid or like little, whatever. You've always, we use those quite a bit.
I use my ouch pouch. That's our boo-boo kit. Yeah. For those of you who don't know.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's our ouch. That's our little boo-boo kit. But I use that more than anything. And honestly, you're going to use that more than anything. I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope
if you're using
like
a tourniquet a week.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to change jobs.
Yeah. You got to
reevaluate some things.
Yeah, I use a tourniquet once a week, whether I need it or not. But it's we got a lot of different kits. And then our new spear kit, our new little low profile kit. Did I show you all that at Symposium last year? That was one of the prototypes.
Oh, I think so, yeah.
That little low profile one?
Yeah.
I'd worked on that thing for like 5 years, prototype after prototype. I'd wear it for a few months and then say, okay, we need to do this. But yeah, we got a lot of different kits, and I'm proud of that. Very proud of that.
Is a paper cut still considered a paper cut if you're like missing an arm? Like if you I asked the guys at the warehouse the other day, if you were to get like such a severe paper cut and your arm was hanging off, is that still considered a paper cut?
Still considered a paper cut. Yeah. Has anybody ever had a cardboard cut?
They suck.
Oh, yeah. Those are horrible, man.
That's the thing that happens in the warehouse the most.
That's like okay, paper cut's like a scalpel. A cardboard cuts like a machete or something. Yeah, it's like blunt force trauma.
Yeah.
Have you seen any issues, whether it be due to COVID-19 supplies or recent events? How has that impacted your supply chain?
Our supply chain has been greatly impacted by the conflict over there in the Ukraine right now. COVID, actually, we didn't really see a drop in supply chain. We saw it initially, but then everything kind of picked back up as restrictions were lifted and all this kind of stuff. But what hurt us was the training, because nobody wanted to do in-person learning. So we lost over 80% of our classes that year, which sucked. But since this stuff in the Ukraine's kicked off, it's been, man, we've been going through hell in half of Georgia to get freaking tourniquets, and we're direct with these guys, like we were talking before the podcast. We're direct with these guys: chest seals, hemostatics, pressure bandages, and then we're trying to steal from Peter to pay Paul, to go from somewhere, go to RSR or whatever, and then you grab one and you're like, well, I'm paying $8 more for it. That's going to screw my profit up, but at least the customer gets what they need.
Yeah.
And so that's, exactly what I'm saying, man. You're talking about that stuff the other day, or today, and I asked one of my sales reps, I was like, dude, do they realize that people in the U.S. are still getting hurt? I mean, there's going to be like a 10 tourniquet to 1 person ratio over there, and I can't hardly find anything to get it.
Oh yeah, it's been crazy lately. I've had more people message customer service or Facebook, and they're like, "Hey, when you getting, cats back in?" I'm like, "What is there? Are we out? Is there a demand?" And then I go look, and everywhere's out. I'm like, "Oh crap, what's going on?"
Yeah.
And then that's what, that you told me today. Last time we were able to get a chance, usually it was, hey, I'll buy 4. I'm buying 50.
Yeah.
Because I don't know when the next time that they're going to come available.
Yeah.
And if our customers are wanting that, then I need to have it.
No, absolutely, and that's been a big problem for us. Is I want, people are like, I want my kit, and I'm like, dude, I know.
I want to sell you one.
I want to sell you one. I want my products, because they've been on back order for 8 weeks now. Some of the stuff, and that's been a big thing for us is we try to fulfill product orders in a timely manner with only the two whole people we have in the shop. But it's we're a small business with a big heart, I like to say, but it still has been a problem for us to get stuff as medical components. I never would have thought that. It didn't really compute, because we still had a good supply chain even during GWAT and everything. I still had a good supply chain, and now this kicked off. It's like all these nonprofits are sending massive, pallet loads and pallet loads.
Do you have any kits over there that you know of?
I know. Actually, yeah. There's a couple of my buddies who are former military over there fighting right now that have our kits on.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. Which is kind of rad. Scary, but kind of rad at the same time. But yeah, nice. It's been a problem. But I think they've ramped up production. Like my buddy at North American said, they were selling like 80,000 tourniquets a week.
Holy shit, that's insane.
And they were still backlogged.
Yeah.
Well, the big thing is a lot of people knock that shit off. Like, how many fake tourniquet companies?
Did you see the NAR put a post out? Did y'all see that one?
No.
It was a huge box of tourniquets showed up to Ukraine, and it was cats, and they were like just ripping them. They were just breaking the windlasses. And
so you got to be careful where you buy them from, because God forbid.
I get mine. I know if I get mine, I get them from direct from the manufacturer or someone who is direct with North American. Like say if Boundtree Medical had, 150 tourniquets, and I'm like, give me those. I know they get them directly from North American Rescue, who gets them from Composite Resources.
You're not buying off of eBay or Alibaba.
Dude, don't go to wish.com, because you're going to wish you had a tourniquet that really works.
Amazon. You can't guarantee that it's coming from who it's coming from.
Dude, you hit the nail on the head, because they third-party source everything.
Yeah.
And you don't know who it's going to come from. And I've had
I see that with Surefire and Trijicon. Like people will buy Surefire, Trijicon, or whatever off of Amazon, and then they end up getting a fake.
Yep.
Because there's 100 different places that could have came from.
They source it from whomever, and that's when people come to class. They're like, oh, shit. I bought like a bunch of fake tourniquets because they thought they were getting a real deal. And and I showed them the difference between the real ones and the fake ones, And,
well, if you're paying $7 for a cat, it's probably too good to be true. Like,
yeah, and that's it, man. Don't third party source your stuff out. If you come to darkangelmedical.com, you'll get stuff. I mean, you're going to get it from us because we get it direct from the manufacturer. We're not sourcing anything else from anybody else. So you gotta be true to yourself. That's why I tell people, why don't you carry some of those gun show lead round nose reloads, for your defensive carry ammo,
sandwich baggies,
Ziploc baggie, yeah.
Spicy. You never know what you're gonna get.
You never know what you're gonna get.
Either
like a box
it's either
of chocolates.
a squid.
Yeah, it's either gonna be a squid or an
like
absolute fucking cannon round.
Yeah, it's gonna be a triple charge or nothing. Yeah. Yeah, so it's affected us, but thankfully, I think we're kind of starting to see things level off as a increased production. So hopefully it'll.
Well, and then now you've got also all those militaries over there that are ramping up their supply with everything.
Yeah,
we were talking to somebody the other day that was, a certain company. I don't know if I can say the name of the company, but it's supplying got a contract with the German army to supply them with night vision. Like, poof.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All those countries over there are now like, okay, we're ramping up our stuff because this is actually, Cold Wars went hot 30 years after the Cold War was over.
And we're a lot closer to Russia than.
And the domestic supply of night vision is going to be going like a fart in the wind.
Yeah.
So if you don't have night vision right now, you better get it from Big Tex Ordnance.com.
You got any other questions for him, Mike?
Tampons.
Oh,
belong in vaginas.
And there's the promo.
Yeah.
There's the promo clip.
We could turn that into a sticker too.
we can.
No, but like if you go on the internet, everyone's like, "Oh, I'm not going to carry medical because I just carry tampons. They're 1/10 the price or whatever."
I got a belt and some tampons.
Yeah.
Some tampons. If you see where the Millers, it's a tampon. Now,
Great movie.
It's a great movie, man.
Jennifer Aniston.
Tampons. Let me dispel that myth real quick. Like, if you're carrying tampons as a primary means for hemorrhage control from a traumatic injury, you're wrong. 1967 called. They want their technology back because people are like, oh, well, my granddaddy's brother's uncle's cousin, carried him in Vietnam and, said they worked, and some dude, and GWAT said it worked. I'm like, look, dude, I got a broke watch that's right twice a day. Anecdotal stuff is anecdotal stuff. It's not clinical data. It's not scientific data. A blind squirrel gets a nut every now and then, right? But if you're looking at a three-dimensional large volume bleed, a three-dimensional wound with a large cavitation, large volume bleed, a tampon is designed to do two things: soak up blood and keep it from coming to the surface, right? So because that's what it's designed for. It's designed to soak up blood. If you're trying to stop a bleed, you got to have two things. You got to have compression. Tampon does not offer compression. The compression slows the blood. So if you've got a hemostatic agent in that gauze, the hemostatic agent works along with the body's could work with or outside of the body's own natural clotting capabilities to create a clot. That compression slows the blood down, which leads to the building of a clot, coagulation. So you got to have something that creates compression and coagulation. A tampon doesn't do that. So,
and in your class, like you have that wound block or whatever.
Yeah.
The wound may only be, for those that can't see, is only a couple inches deep, but the amount of gauze that you can shove in there is unreal.
It's insane.
Like if you had to use, how many tampons would that take to?
All of them.
Exactly.
All of them.
What if you had tampons with quick clot on them?
Okay, so that's a good question. But so you could help with some coagulation, but it would probably get flushed out, just like the old granular hemostat, the old granular quick clot.
Yeah.
It had the properties there, but it would get washed out of the wound because you didn't have the compression there to slow the bleed down to let the clotting begin.
Actually, take place.
To actually take place. And that's what I tell people. You got to have you got to have compression, which leads to coagulation. And a tampon doesn't do either of those. It just soaks up blood. That's what it's, I mean, they're great for nosebleeds. I mean, we would soak them in like neosynephrine and ER, or medical grade cocaine, because Rick James said cocaine's a hell of a drug. And
Rick James, bitch.
Yeah, Rick James, bitch. And so it would, because it's a very powerful vasoconstrictor, so right up in there in the nose, and it soaked up that blood. So yeah, I mean, you don't. I mean, if you're using a quick clot gauze or a Kaido gauze or something like that, you're starting the clotting process in literally less than a minute. Literally less than a minute. It's not going to happen with
the tampon.
With a tampon.
Not happening.
With a tampon or a belt. People are like, oh, I got a belt. I'm like, how long is it going to take you to fashion an improvised tourniquet of that belt when you could just carry a freaking cat or a soft T wide?
Exactly.
And be done with it.
Has a windlass right there.
I mean, and go to Filster, go to y'all know John.
Oh yeah.
The Filster Flatpack. Dude, that's one of the best things for the freaking soft T because it folds down nice and flat. Mm-hmm. A shameless plug for you, John. Love you, brother.
Hey, the only person that sells more Filster is Filster.
Yeah.
In Big Tex.
Hey, there you go. See,
Yeah.
and that I show people the Flatpack in class all the freaking time.
It's a great product.
Yeah, it's a great product. And I was like, I carry one, and it's like right there.
Yeah.
It's right there, and you don't have to worry about, what do I do with my belt, And
But a lot of big misconceptions, people just think like a belt's tight enough they can just cinch it down. You've got to have a windlass.
100% mechanical advantage, man. And that was like Dr. John Craig did a study on improvised tourniquets. Pretty much like 100%, it was like 99.8. I said, well, we'll just say 100% of the tourniquets, of the improvised tourniquets without mechanical advantage, failed to achieve arterial occlusion. Whereas like 68% of the improvised tourniquets with improvised or with a windlass, improvised tourniquet with a windlass or mechanical advantage succeeded. So yeah, well, it's a 32% success rate. I said, well, I'll take 30,
Over 0.0.
over big fat nothing, big fat goose egg any day. So it just shows how important it is to have mechanical advantage. But the thing is, how timely are you with that? How quickly can you get that thing applied? Whereas with a cat or soft T, right there, you got it done. It's money because that's what it's designed.
Yeah, I
to
was
do.
gonna say it's like literally built to do that.
That's what it's commercially designed to do. Your belt is designed to keep your britches over your ass, above your ass.
Learn something new every day.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I got one more here before we wrap it up. And this is one thing that I've saw on social media recently is people talking about needle chest decompression. Like that's been like all of a sudden a hot topic.
Yep.
And I'm going to bring up what my thoughts were on it back, when my last deployment, 2009, like that was like one of those things, dude, like I'll have a bird here before anything. Like, don't even worry about doing something like that. So what are your thoughts on that?
TCCC is like, basically it's like if there's a defect in the chest or there, then it's going to get sealed and darted, or if they present with a tension pneumo, even if it's a closed pneumo that's just going to tension, dart it, but that's only for people who are trained to do it. That's not a layperson skill. Right. That's not an 11 Bravo skill, or a 0311. That's not something a grunt's going to do. Unless they've been trained, and because they did the studies on this, and they were showing this was from paramedics, who were in the field and have been in the field, and like it was some astounding number, like 80-something% of them, they were going like it was all over the place. So they got shot in the chest with freaking birdshot, on the diagram. They were like, okay, this is where they would put it because they completely missed the landmarks, and if you don't know the landmark, up in here, and there's one down here, then you're going to hurt somebody. And that's what I tell people. Look, that's the reason we put the needle in the military spec kit, because that's part of TCCC standards. It's not anything else. And there's a reason for that now.
Yeah, it's not like there's a military grade and then a civilian grade. It's just
No, it's just whatever kind of hemostatic gauze is in the kit. Yes, that's a good question too. What level of the kit when you see our kits is what if you got the bleeding control dressing, which is quick clot hemostatic gauze, or you got the LE kit, LE quick clot, and the mil spec kit has the mil, which is just the same as the LE is just in a green package with a national stock number. But the mill kit has a TCCC card, casualty card, and a decompression needle just to fit military standards. But that's just it, man. If you don't know what you're doing, you could hurt somebody. You could kill somebody. Yeah. Oh, they didn't have a tension pneumothorax, but they do now, thanks to you. Or, hey, you nicked that subclavian artery. Now they're bleeding to death. Or you go even in, you hit an intermammary artery. Or you go in even further. Oh, you nicked the aorta. Sorry. Yeah. And if you just because you stayed at Holiday Inn Express last night, that is not defensible in a court of law. Or I've seen it on the YouTubes. And people are like, well, I took a TCCC class. Good for you. I'm glad. That's awesome that you took a TCCC class. Well, I'm certified. No, you got a certification. You got a certificate showing you've been trained in that, but you're not licensed to do that. That's the big thing. That's the reason.
Don't go stabbing people with needles.
Yeah.
Don't go stabbing people with needles, man. Like you said, by the time the bird gets there, it can take, depending on the level of collapse, it can take a long time.
A long
time for tension to build up. And even then, if there's bleeding in there, they're probably going to die from massive hemorrhage inside the box well before the air would build up. And even if they've got a hemopneumothorax, which is blood and air in the chest from trauma, the 14 gauge needle's not going to let all that blood out. That's why they need a chest tube to suck all that crap out. A big old farking chest tube like that. I mean, a little decompression needle's like, tossing a fat kid a Pez. It ain't happening.
We want more Pez.
Yeah, we want we want all the Pez. It is. Stay in your, and it's like we hear it in the shooting community all the time. Stay in your lane, right? Stay in your lane. So if you're not licensed to do it, stay in your lane. Don't accept that risk. Don't accept that liability, and don't put moreover, don't put the person that you're taking care of at risk.
Oh yeah.
First do no harm. Primum non nocere. That's the Latin for the medical field. First, do no harm. Don't cause any further injury. Don't cause any further harm.
I got one more, Chris.
Go for it.
Most of our audience is gun carrying people. What do you recommend them to carry like every day? These guys are carrying a gun, a flashlight, pocket knife, a wallet,
a sextant, a flint and steel, a Viz 17 panel. I mean, that's when I see it. I was like, this is my EDC. And I'm like, bro, you got like 2 knives, 4 mags, 2 flashlights. If you fall into a creek, you're going to freaking drown. I'm like, where's your medical? Don't have room. That's one of my big things. I carry a lot of crap in my pockets too, but one thing I do have is medical. Like I got my boots on right now, so I've got my stuff in my man purse over here. But like I can throw chest seal and tourniquet and pressure bandage in one. I can throw a tourniquet in one boot and a chest seal, pressure bandage, and quick clot in the other boot. So if you're wearing cowboy boots, you can still carry a med kit.
Got your shit kickers on.
Yeah, that's right, man. Come on.
I need a new pair.
If you're wearing the tactical dad shorts, Chris's guy here.
Oh yeah, every day. That's the uniform.
You can throw a med kit now. I mean, hell, throw a tourniquet on one side. Throw a EDC kit on the other side. Ike's wearing jeans. You can throw an ankle kit on.
I need to get an ankle kit.
Yeah, I mean they're super comfortable. The way I designed it was like an open top mag pouch. Oh. So you just pull the little tab and pull your crap out, and it's a stretchy nylon webbing instead of just plain nylon because that doesn't fit well. Find what you can carry depending on what you're wearing because it's not a one size fits all situation. You may have to pair and tailor to what it is. I mean, if I was wearing like a suit, I would wear a different kit,
Just like you wear a different gun.
Right, exactly. Or carry a different pocket knife, whatever. Yeah. If you're wearing skinny jeans, I can guarantee you ankle kits ain't the way. Or any kind of tapered pants or anything like that. But just find out what works best for you, and then pair and tailor it. But at a bare minimum, we'll finish up. We've gone over a little bit.
Oh, you're good.
I want to talk about Pocket Doc's top 5. If you're carrying stuff, top 5 for trauma stuff. Gloves, like multiple pairs of nitrile gloves.
Not black ones.
Not if that's all you can get, dance with who brung you. But if you can carry a lighter color glove, do that, and get a medical grade glove, exam grade glove versus the Home Depot gloves, because those meet different quality control standards. Because those Home Depot gloves, while they're nitrile, they allow, if they're a contractor grade glove, they can have holes and stuff like that. They can be porous. So be careful with that, because we're trying to protect yourself from cooties. Okay, so gloves, at least one or two tourniquets, because the old 2 is 1 is none thing. And it may take more than one tourniquet to stop a bleed. That happens. So gloves, tourniquets, pressure bandages, hemostatic gauze, and then chest seals. So that'll give you a nice little well-rounded trauma kit. At least that's the top 5 basic things. If you can throw a space blanket in there, anything else like our full-size Dark's got in it, then do it. But otherwise, that's the basic stuff. That's what we have in our EDC kit and in our ankle kit. And like in our mini kit, we've got a smaller roll of gauze, of hemostatic gauze. And that's for minor to moderate bleeds, and we label it as such because a lot of these companies out there that capitalize on consumer ignorance, and that's not a diminishing term at all, because people don't know any better until you teach them. They'll say, "Oh, it's got hemostatic gauze in there." I'm like, "Yeah, it's got 2 feet." Or it's got 4 feet. Whereas we pack 12 feet into that one thing, and that's for your severe life-threatening bleeds. So we even have it on the mini kit. Hey, this is for minor to moderate bleeds. This is minor trauma, not life-threatening trauma. So we try to be upfront and educate folks, man.
And for those listeners who didn't catch it already, where can we find your stuff at?
You can go to darkangelmedical.com, check out our products, check out our training calendar. Hoping to be back down here next year.
Oh, for sure.
And then, if you want a class in your area and we're not in your area, we are host dependent. So reach out to us at info@darkangelmedical.com and say, "Hey, I want to host a class for 2023 because we're starting on 2023 calendar right now." So, yeah, man.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank y'all for having me on.
For coming down.
Enjoyed it. Yeah. I was stoked to get down here, man, because I was like, I get to see the boys.
Yeah.
So
I think we're all pretty excited for class.
Yeah, pretty much the whole crew is taking the class this weekend, so
it's gonna be good, man.
Yeah.
Gonna get their learn on.
Hell yeah. Yeah, Jake asked me, he texted me, he said, "Hey man," he said, "is coffee and water or energy drinks?" I said, "That's fine with me." I said, "But I require the finest glacier water known to man, and the coffee beans, after being roasted, must not be ground. They must be crushed between the thighs of a Colombian virgin." So, and he drove back and said, "That's hilarious." I said, I said, "Dude, Folgers and freaking Dasani are good with me, bro. I am not high maintenance at all."
Fantastic. Well, y'all have fun tomorrow. I wish I was being able to join you.
Next time. Thanks, man. Appreciate y'all.
And those listeners out there are watching, make sure you listen to us, subscribe, follow, ring the bell, do all that good stuff.
So you get notifications from us. Hit the bell. I don't know where I'm supposed to point.
Wherever the bell is.
We appreciate you listening. Thank you.